Thanks so much to Thrive Market for sponsoring today's video. I just grabbed a few lemons here, and then I've got some honey and some maple syrup. During the summer, I love to make things ahead of time, or stuff that I can just keep in the fridge or on the shelves even, because when we wake up in the morning, the kids are all here, and if they're not doing school or anything, it can be a little bit chaotic. So if I can get something done ahead of time and it doesn't heat up my house, then I love doing that. So I'm gonna make up a big batch of one of my favorite granolas today. It's actually kind of a version of one that we used to be able to find at Costco years ago, but they stopped selling it, and it was the best granola that we ever had. And it was like a lemon blueberry, really refreshing. It sounds a little bit weird because of the lemon, but it's actually so amazing. I can't even explain. Like with yogurt and stuff, when you put the granola on top, it almost tastes like a dessert. And then I'm also gonna make a batch of these like really high protein little, I don't even know how to call them, but they're like little pancakes, little small ones, and they're so good. And you can just reheat them really quickly in the morning. So you're not gonna heat up your whole house, and you're gonna have a really quick and easy breakfast for either you or your kids. I love topping it with a little bit of wild blueberry fruit spread. This is just sweetened with fruit juice, so it doesn't have the same added sugar as normal ones. And then I also like drizzling it with a little bit of raw honey too. Either one is so delicious. So I'm gonna make them both ahead of time, so I have a big batch of granola for the week to keep on the shelf, and we can put that on yogurt or just eat it with a little bit of milk, or just snack on it on its own because it's that flavorful and delicious that we can just eat it on its own. So we're gonna do a little bit of pantry prep and then a little bit to keep in the fridge. So I have all these ingredients ready to go, and I'm just gonna make up a big batch of it to eat on. These are the oats that I like to use for it. They're just organic, sprouted, and gluten-free. Oats are gluten-free in general, but they can be processed on the same assembly line as wheat. So you wanna make sure that if you have a gluten intolerance or sensitivity, you just opt for gluten-free. I buy this big 5-pound bag of it, and it lasts forever. I can link it down below. So I'm gonna use up a bunch of those. And then I need another ingredient to put in this granola that is an absolute must, and it's from Thrive Market. And today's video is actually sponsored by Thrive Market, so thanks so much for partnering with me on today's video. And one of the ingredients I actually wanted so that I can make this granola is a must for blueberry lemon granola, and it's these organic whole dried blueberries, and they're just sweetened with a little bit of apple juice, so they don't add any more processed sugar or high fructose corn syrup, any of the stuff you'd normally find in your grocery store. These are a favorite. You can get them on Thrive. I got 2 of them, and they were both on sale, so such a good deal. And if you're not familiar with Thrive Market is an online membership based grocery store, and when you buy your yearly membership, I think it's $60, they give one to somebody in need too, so you're kind of giving back with having your yearly membership. They have a ton of high quality products. They've banned, I think, almost 1,000 ingredients, so there's a lot of good quality foods, and it's really easy to sort by whatever diet or food values you have. It's really easy to find things that you already buy on sale, which is what I love to do. I get a lot of things from there, and right now, the 7th through the 13th, they're actually having a huge summer sale. So I just got a bunch of snacks and things for the kids because it's super hot outside right now, and we need good snacks. So one of them I got were these delicious little organic freezer pops without any of those horrid dyes that are normally in those. Big bars, these are a must. We always have those types of things on hand. And then I'm from the Midwest, so nothing says summer like cherry limeade. So the cherry limeade poppies, they're a prebiotic soda. They're amazing, so have those in your fridge. They're so refreshing. And then a little purse snack. I always love to have something small in my purse if we're out and I'm hungry. I love these little dry roasted macadamia nuts. They're super high in good quality fat, and they have a little bit of salt too, so you're gonna get that added energy boost. And then I also wanted just a quick snack to throw on like the side of easy summer lunches. So I got some of these sourdough crackers. They're organic and they're sourdough, and I feel like this is the only place that you can even find products like that, so I had to get it. And then if you're trying to get your kids to do a little bit of summer chores, this is a must in my house, and it's these organic yum lollipops. They are amazing. I sneak them too. They're really good. It's a great way to get them to do their summer chores and get a little reward too that's not unhealthy for them. If you're looking for a bunch of good healthy pantry staples or snacks for the summertime, make sure you head on over to Thrive Market, especially now during their summer sale. And you can use my link. I'll link it down below in the description box. It's just thrivemarket.com/healthy Elizabeth. And that's gonna give you 30% off your first order plus a free gift valued up to $60. So make sure you check them out and tell me what products that you end up buying. And thanks again to Thrive Market for sponsoring today's video. I'm gonna go ahead and preheat the oven. I'm just gonna put it on bake, and then at about 345 or 340, I do just under 350 because I don't like my granola to get too dark. And then we'll cook it for probably about 22, 23 minutes. So I'll just let that preheat now. I have one of these baking sheets. They're USA pans and they have ridges, and I love that because then it doesn't warp. So I'm just gonna line this baking sheet that's kind of big with a little slice with a little piece of unbleached parchment paper. I love these because they're always ready to go. So I'll just set that aside and then I'll get started here on the mix. Okay, so I'm gonna use one of my favorite glass measuring cups. These are for liquids and they have mils, cups, and ounces. They're amazing. So right now I'm gonna do 1/3 cup of avocado oil. That's gonna be what crisps it up. So you could use things like oils, like sunflower oils, but avocado is just healthier and I like it better than butter because butter doesn't crisp it up quite as much. I like the flavor of avocado oil better, but you could also do coconut oil. That's really healthy, but I just don't like the flavor it gives because it's like a little bit too coconutty. But if you like that, then you can definitely use it here. So I'm gonna use that. You could also use melted butter, but I'm gonna use avocado oil. And then I'm gonna do maple syrup and some honey because I like to do a mixture of them. I prefer the taste of maple syrup, but I like the thickness that honey adds. I actually prefer using brown rice syrup in granola because it kind of has a more neutral flavor. That way you don't get a whole bunch of honey taste, but you can definitely just use honey and maple syrup or just one or the other depending on your preferences. So I'm gonna use about 1/4 cup of maple syrup, maybe just a tiny bit more. Yeah. Somewhere between 1/4 and 1/3. And then I'll add that into my bowl. I like to start with the wet ingredients. That way I can kind of mix it all together really well and then just toss in the oats and coat them versus trying to pour all the wet over the dry ingredients. It doesn't work as well. So I just start with the base like that. I'm also gonna add in a little splash of that vanilla that I got from Thrive Market. And I'm not gonna measure this or anything. I'll just eyeball a little splash of vanilla extract. And then I have some raw honey here that I got from my local farmer's market, and I'm just gonna do about 2 tablespoons of that. I'm also just gonna add a little pinch of my Celtic sea salt in here. That just gives the oats good flavor, so just add a little bit, especially if you're not using like a salted butter. Just add a little bit of salt to flavor the oil and the oats. And then I have my 2 lemons here that I'm gonna juice and do the zest of it. So first I'm gonna start with the zester, so I'm gonna go grab my microplane. And the trick with the microplane is I always thought you were supposed to rub the lemon on the microplane, but you're actually supposed to hold the microplane and zest the lemon like this, and it actually works a lot more efficiently. So that's a little trick. I don't know if it's like technically right, don't ask any chefs, but it works amazing. So that's a little trick. And you're less likely to kind of like grade your knuckles. I feel like I've done that a time too many, so now I do it this way and it's a lot less dangerous. I still don't have a lemon squeezer, so I'm gonna squeeze it in this little glass measuring cup. That way I can scoop out all of the seeds that fall in. So I'll just scoop these seeds out, and these were really juicy lemons, and so I have somewhere between 1/4 cup and 1/3 cup, so that should be plenty. You may not even need that much, but I'm gonna go ahead and add that into the bowl too. Now I'll just whisk this together, and I see a couple lemon seeds, so I'm gonna scoop those out. Okay, there we go. So we'll whisk it together. It already smells amazing. I can smell the lemon and the lemon zest. And then the maple syrup and the honey and vanilla. Oh, we're already off to a good start. So I'm gonna add all my oats now. And I'm gonna do about 3 cups of these oats. Whoops. So I have my big 2-cup measuring scoop. One of you sent me the link to this and said I needed to get it, and I agree, I love it. So I'm gonna measure out 2 cups and then, whoop, and then just 1 more cup. This is the point where you could add things like nuts or chia seeds or anything else kind of extra that you want to add, except for things like the dried fruit. So we're actually going to cook this granola in the oven first and make sure it's nice and toasty and everything, and let it cool completely on the counter, and then you add in the dried fruit. So the dried fruit really just goes in at the end, to be honest, and you can just toss it in. So it's really easy to toss in things like dried fruit or chocolate chips. You could use like Hugh or Lily's chocolate chips. Those are some of my favorites. Or Enjoy Life too if you have food allergies. So you can do that all at the end. You don't even really have to measure. You could just throw it in. I'm just going to stir this up. And one thing that I've learned over a few attempts of making granola over the years is that you want to make sure that it looks wet enough in the bowl. You want to make sure that there's enough oil and that there's enough like sticky syrup. So you want to make sure you're using a good pure syrup like maple syrup or honey, but you want to make sure that there's enough of it too, so that your granola really gets like crunchy and sticks together, and it just gets really good like granola texture versus like just crispy oats. That's what I find makes the grocery store oats or granola so good, is the fact that it kind of clumps up together. That's what we want. And another ingredient that I'm out of right now that I love in granola is actually a little bit of brown rice cereal. I think they're like little brown rice puffs. They're usually sprouted, and they're by the same brand as this one. It's the 1 Degree. I'll link them down below. I think I actually ordered them already and they're on the way, but they didn't get here yet. But I love throwing in a little bit of those brown rice puffs because it makes it kind of like airier and lighter and super crunchy. So it reminds me of Cascadian Farms granola, but a homemade version, because theirs is kind of like puffier. So if you just have oats, it's a little bit more dense, but if you just add in even like a half a cup or a cup of those brown rice puffs, they're just amazing to kind of like fluff out your granola and give it an amazing texture. So highly recommend throwing in some of those as well. This is looking really good. I might just add in a dash more maple syrup just to make sure that everything's really gonna stick together well. And then I'll stir this all up and we'll put it over here on my parchment lined baking sheet and get it into the oven at 350. Okay, and I'm just gonna spread this out in a really nice even layer. You can let it touch as much as you want it to, because when it kind of sticks together, then after it cools and sets, you can kind of break it into large chunks. So if you like a chunkier piece of granola that's more like bite size, you can leave it without touching it at the end and you'll get those chunks and you can kind of break it apart with your hand. But if you keep stirring it a lot, then you'll get finer pieces of granola. So it's kind of just your personal preference. I'm just gonna pat this down into a nice even layer, and then I like to watch it starting around 15 minutes because I don't like it when my granola gets really dark and toasty. I feel like it just starts to taste burnt really easily, so I like to keep it nice and light golden, not too dark brown. There we go. Okay, so it should look just like this. That's perfect, and now into the oven. So I'm gonna go and rinse this bowl out, and I'm gonna use it to start prepping the batter for the pancakes. If I don't have to dirty up more dishes than necessary, I don't. My granola is about halfway through cooking, so I just took a wooden spatula and gave it a little bit of a stir and then flattened it back out. So it's gonna finish toasting in there, and while that's cooking, I'm gonna go ahead and put together this pancake mix that is gonna sit in the fridge for about 30 minutes to firm up before we cook it. So let me go ahead and show you all the ingredients I'm gonna use. It's really simple, but it's full of really wholesome and filling ingredients, lots of protein, and so let me go ahead and show you what we're gonna use. First thing I'm using is a little bit of plain farmer's cheese, and you can either make this yourself. It's really easy. It's like essentially whole milk and a little bit of vinegar to kind of break it up into a cheese, and then you'll strain it. So I've done that before. It's really easy, but I love using this one because it saves me a step. So if you can find this either there or maybe at a local farmer's market, if not, you could just make it yourself or even substitute ricotta cheese. If you take some ricotta cheese and then put it in a little dish with some cheesecloth and just let it sit overnight like that so it can kind of strain out the rest of the liquid, then you could use that as a substitute. You may just need a little bit more semolina flour to kind of hold it together and make it dry. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a pound of this. I love this, it's a probiotic too. and it's packed with protein. Yeah, half a cup of this alone has 13 grams of protein, and we're gonna add a little bit of Greek yogurt to it and an egg. So I'm gonna use this whole container of the farmer's cheese. This is a 1 pound container, and you can just kind of break it up as you put it in the bowl. But you can see how dry it is. It's really crumbly and thick and delicious. I'm gonna crack in 1 egg. I'm using my eggs for my silky chickens, and they're a little bit smaller than your average egg, but I think 1 is gonna be okay because you want this mixture to stay nice and dry. You don't wanna add a huge egg or a lot of egg white because it's gonna start to kind of get too sloppy to work with. So I'd say using 1 small egg is definitely gonna work for this recipe. I'm gonna add 1.5 tablespoons of this Icelandic yogurt. It's just a really thick, kind of like a Greek yogurt, whole milk. And if you don't have Greek yogurt, you could just use sour cream. So we'll add a little bit of that to it. And then I'm gonna kind of make my own version of a vanilla sugar by adding in about 1/2 tablespoon of sugar and then just a little dash of vanilla extract, and that will kind of make like a dry vanilla sugar. So I'm gonna use this raw cane sugar. And then just a little tiny splash of vanilla so we don't make it too wet. Now I'm gonna add in 1 to 2 tablespoons of semolina flour. Semolina flour is just like a really dry kind of cornmeal, but I like adding that into the mixture because then it makes it less gummy like an all-purpose flour would do. It would kind of make it more gummy and glutinous. The semolina flour doesn't do that. It just kind of dries it out, but still gives it that nice chewy texture. So we're gonna do a little bit of that in here as well. And then last thing, I'm just gonna add a little pinch of salt. You don't need much, just a pinch or 2. And now I'm gonna mix this all together. Baby, making some of those pancakes we like. Now I have this really creamy and kind of thick mixture here, and before I start putting them into little pancakes by scooping them with a scooper and then forming a little ball, I'm gonna put this filling in the fridge for about half an hour. That way it's just gonna really firm up and hold its shape and doesn't start to get all kind of melty in our hands. So I'll just cover this with a lid and pop this in the fridge, and then now I'm gonna go ahead and pull out that granola because I can smell it and I think it's done. Okay, the granola is ready to go, and it is so good, and it's gonna be amazing just over yogurt or with a little bit of milk in the morning, and it's gonna be such a quick and easy and cool breakfast to have on these hot summer mornings. So that was a huge win. I'll put the recipe down in the description box. It's really easy, so if you like lemon and blueberry, try those out. And now I'm gonna go ahead and cook up those pancakes. So this has come out of the fridge. It's nice and chilled now. So I'm just gonna use a little, oh, I got the big one. I'm gonna grab my smaller measuring scoop here, and I'm gonna scoop them out into little balls and dust them in a little bit of just regular all-purpose flour, just to give them a little coating that they'll fry up nicely on my griddle. My griddle over here, I have preheating over about medium-high heat, and I'm just gonna spray it with a little avocado oil, and then I'll put each of those patties on the skillet and cook them just for a few minutes on either side until they're nice and golden brown. Okay, so I'm gonna scoop a little bit of flour and just put it on a plate so I can dust each of these little cakes right as I make them. I'm gonna dust my hands too. These are amazing. I'm eating some now. I did a little bit of honey and then I did the Thrive Market blueberry spread, and the blueberry spread is actually a lot better. It tastes like blueberry pie filling, but it's not overly sweet. Like the whole thing, it seems really sweet, but the savory cakes, they're not that sweet. You could sweeten them more if you want, but then you can top them with that blueberry syrup or jam or raw honey, whichever, maple syrup, any of that. And oh my goodness, they're amazing. Lots of protein. They're so good. I have the rest of them going on the stove and I'm gonna put them in the fridge for tomorrow. I hope that you enjoyed cooking with me today, and if you want to try any of these recipes, you can use some of those ingredients I talked about from Thrive Market. Just use my link, thrivemarket.com/healthyelizabeth. I'll leave it down below. Don't forget that gets you 30% off plus a free gift up to $60. So check it out, and thanks again for watching today's video. If you want any of these recipes, they'll be down below, and I'll see you guys next time.